Good morning. I'll call the board meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Again, good morning. Consideration of agenda items. Any additions or corrections to the agenda?
I have two additions, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
For the county board agenda, I have an addition for you to put under administration. Consider approval of out-of-state travel for the county administrator, myself, to attend the National Association of Counties Workforce Network Advisory Council annual pre-conference meeting in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania on July 10th. The Workforce Network Advisory Council Managing Director indicated that NACO will cover the travel and lodging expenses for the county administrator to attend via reimbursement to McLeod County. This is in place of attending the National Association of Counties Conference, which I had requested to have removed from the previous agenda. This, I would just be attending the meeting where I am on that committee and have been for approximately 5 years, or on that council, excuse me.
Very good. The other addition?
I have a workshop agenda addition.
Go ahead. Just note it now, please.
Thank you. Land transfer discussion.
Very good. I'm fine with those wishes of the board.
To approve.
Motion by Commissioner Wright. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Commissioner Kruger. Any discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consent agenda?
No changes, Mr. Chair.
Move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Kruger, second by Commissioner Schmalz. Any discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Environmental Services.
Good morning.
Morning.
4 items for your consideration this morning. Item A is to consider approving a conditional use permit, 25-15, as requested by Tim Mueller of W.M. Mueller and Sons, Hamburg, Minnesota, to continue mining a pit area originally permitted in 2002 for gravel mining, crushing, and stockpiling of material located in Section 23 of Glencoe Township. Parcel number in question is 04.023.0235. The haul route from the pit access directly enters onto Hamlet Avenue and then north onto State Highway 212. The pit will be reclaimed to a 4-to-1 side slope for non-farming purposes. The topsoil will be stripped and stockpiled for use in reclaiming the side slopes. The stockpiles will not exceed 34 feet in height. The Glencoe Township Board unanimously recommended approval on June 12, 2025. The McLeod County Planning Advisory Commission unanimously recommended approval on June 25, 2025, with the following conditions. Number 1, the applicant shall submit a bond or letter of credit to McLeod County Environmental Services by July 15, 2025 in the amount of $26,000. That $26,000 is generated, it's $1,000 per acre for reclamation standards and ordinance. If anybody has questions in regard to where that number came from. Number 2, the hours of operation are Monday through Friday, 6:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. Saturday shall be permitted as needed with a 24-hour notice to McLeod County Environmental Services from 7 a.m. to 12 p.m. Crushing shall not occur prior to 8 a.m. during hours of operation. Number 3, crushing is allowed to occur in the pit area. Number 4, applicants shall meet all state NPDES National Pollution Discharge Elimination System requirements and apply for a Department of Natural Resources DNR dewatering permit if needed. Number 5, the applicant shall follow all mining standards contained in Section 16 of the McLeod County zoning ordinance if not further restricted by this permit. Number 6, stockpiling of material shall not be stored in the floodplain. Number 7, the applicant shall restore as stated a pit area to a 4-to-1 back slope for non-farming purposes. And number 8, the McLeod County Environmental Service shall inspect all restoration work complete and approve with a letter acknowledging completion to release the bond or letter of credit back to the applicant. With that being said, Tim Mueller is here. If there are questions for Tim, they've done a nice job on this pit. They've paved the access from 212 to the edge of the pit to the south to eliminate a lot of the concerns in regards to the dust, and they've maintained that. So,
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I live right there, so I think they do a good job as well, so I move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Kruger. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wright. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Mark, I'm impressed with, the ongoing continuation of a pit, for as long as we've been doing it. Come before the board previously to renew the conditional use permit, and have there been changes along the way, being we're like 22 years down the road?
So William Mueller was not the original applicant for this pit area. So every 5 years, they do come in front of us with changes. So the pit area has expanded from the original request. There was a lot of floodplain on the north half of this pit area boundary, which has previously been mined. There's a berm that's been added to that, an elevation that was regulated by the DNR and FEMA. So with all of that being said, yes, they've done a great job, and they typically they're not in that north pit area. That's already been reclaimed to the standards that are required by ordinance. And they are staging to the south side of this, which is out of the floodplain. They've added a separate haul route for that purpose so that they aren't inundated by the water when we do see excessive amounts of rain like we have recently. But yeah, there have been changes to this request from 2002.
That's great. Thank you, Mark.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item B would be to consider approving sketch plan 25-03 as requested by George Jones, Silver Lake, Minnesota, for a one-lot sketch plan for the purpose of building eligibility to be located in the northeast quarter of the southwest quarter in section 4 of Rich Valley Township. The lot size is 2.84 acres. This is an existing non-tillable acreage that abuts rural housing, non-farming on 3 sides. The McLeod County Soil Survey indicates that the soil present should be able to sustain a site and an alternate site for the standard septic system. The Rich Valley Township Board heard this request and approved it unanimously at its June 10th, 2025 meeting. The McLeod County Planning Commission heard this request and unanimously approved it on June 25th, 2025. And also with that being said, George did have a septic contractor out there due to the fact there's a large wetland that abuts this property. And working with George on this originally, we felt that it was probably prudent that he have soil borings done to make sure that a standard system can be put in. A standard and an alternate site could be located on the property, and that was conclusive. So the soils were accurate in regards to the soil survey, so a standard system can be placed out there.
Very good. Looks in order. Any questions from the board? I'll move to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Schmalz. Any discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item C would be consider approving the bid submitted by Jerpy Contracting, Hutchinson, Minnesota, to remove the existing east truck entrance, regrade the east lot, and establish a berm on the boundary of the east lot of the Environmental Service Building per the map provided at a cost not to exceed $95,638 with funds from the solid waste tip fee budget. That should not say tip fee. That would be abatement fee budget, so it's a budget neutral request. This project was budgeted as a capital project in the 2025 budget and is a budget neutral request as stated. One other bid was received from Lutke Contracting, Hutchinson, Minnesota, at a cost of $95,780. This was an item that we've talked about previously at the beginning of the year, just to regrade the lot there, working with the city, try to get that truck entrance off of 5th Avenue and onto, I'll get it wrong, I believe it's Heritage, that abuts Warrior on the west side for more of a safety concern, and try to create a little bit more of a lot and looking at options to move our recycling drop sites to that eastern side just for safety.
I think it's
concerns.
Hackbarth, and I think Heritage would get really wound up if you
Thank
came
you,
off
Commissioner.
their road.
I knew you would know, so
That street, they'd get mad about that.
thank you.
All right, sorry to interrupt. Was there anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Questions from the board?
I just add, I think this project was brought up earlier this spring, and we assembled in our as a SWAC committee, and it still stands as being a way to increase the flow and the safety of that site and increase services as well down the road. So move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Wright. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Kruger. Any discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
So item A is to consider reviewing and approving proposed amendments to the McLeod County zoning ordinance for the purpose of adding cannabis regulation in conjunction with Minnesota Statute 342, as well as Minnesota Rule 9810 and all appendages. The McLeod County Townships and clerks were notified on June 4th, 2025. The McLeod County Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval at the public hearing on June 25th, 2025. We are going to put those amendments up on the screen, and then I can go through those amendments that were proposed at the public hearing if it pleases the board.
Please.
Just so the public is aware of what we're looking at.
Mr. Chair, if I may have a question.
Sure.
I was unable to attend that meeting last week. I was gone at a conference. So did you have residents there on this issue at all, or?
We had one resident that was there, very, very helpful. Greer Montgomery was the gentleman's name. He's been involved with operations in other states, so he had some very good insight. He owns some property just north of Glencoe. He was very complimentary in regards to what we proposed, trying to bring some order to the last 2 years of trying to develop this. So it was great to have him there. So he had some questions in regards to setback distances specific to his property.
All right, looks like we're up, Mark, and hopefully Stefan can follow along with you as we go.
Yeah, thank you. So first page of the items in section 5, this would be the amendment to section 5 of the McLeod County zoning ordinance. There are a list of definitions. There are 14 definitions, and I'm not going to read through those specific. They're on the screen for viewing, or I'm open to questions if you have them. These definitions come directly out of Minnesota Rule 9810, and they are specific to cannabis, which we do not currently have in our zoning ordinance, so I thought through transparency it would be best to add those. Definition number 3, cannabis retail business, a retail location and the retail locations of a mezzo business with a retail operation endorsement, micro businesses with a retail operation endorsement, medical combination businesses operating a retail location. And in parentheses, you'll see it says and excluding. We excluded, the Planning Commission heard this and excluded lower potency hemp edibles for the retailers. They are already being sold for a lot of the businesses prior to January 1, 2025. So that would be the only change in regards to the definitions that are listed there. Section 7, that is an underlying zoning district. It is our agricultural district. Under subdivision 3, under conditional uses, we are proposing to add number 30, indoor cannabis and hemp cultivation. So if somebody would like an indoor grow house, they would have to come through this board for a conditional use permit. Reason for that is there are some standards that we would have to look at performance-wise, water use, smell, potential energy consumption, noise, access. There are a plethora of things that should be considered, so that is why we are asking to add that. Section 10, B1 Highway Business District, that is the county's commercial district. Subdivision 4, conditional uses. Currently, number 5 reads, other commercial businesses similar in scale and function to uses permitted in the Highway Business District. We would like to add to that language, including cannabis retail and lower potency hemp edible businesses. So if somebody wants to establish a business strictly for the sale of that, we would go through that as a conditional use permit. And then add number 7 to that conditional use section as well, which would read temporary cannabis events. Section 11, I-1 Industrial District, Subdivision 3, permitted uses. We would like to add number 12, cannabis manufacturing, processing, packaging, testing, treatment, transportation, operation, or assembly of products and materials associated with cannabis products. So that is our industrial district where typically our manufacturing processing occurs currently. And then also in number 4, subdivision 4, conditional use section, in section 11, we would like to add number 11, temporary cannabis events. Section 16, that is our general development regulations section, and that applies to all properties in McLeod County. We are requesting to add subdivision 16, cannabis and hemp regulations. McLeod County adopts, and there should be by reference, Minnesota Office of Cannabis Management Rule 9810, and all appendages pursuant to Minnesota Rules 342. Number 1, McLeod County prohibits the operation of cannabis and hemp businesses within A, 1,000 feet from the property boundary of a school or church, B, 500 feet from the property boundary of a daycare, C, 500 feet from the property boundary of a residential treatment facility, and D, 500 feet from the property boundary of a public park, playground, or athletic field. Number 2, McLeod County restricts cannabis business to retail sales of cannabis, cannabis flower, cannabis products, lower potency hemp edibles, or hemp-derived consumer products between the hours of 10 a.m. through 9 p.m. Monday through Saturday and 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Sunday. Number 3, temporary cannabis events shall be conditionally permitted in the highway business or industrial districts per the following. A, permitted events shall be via conditional use permit approval. B, hours of events shall be Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And C, permitted events shall meet the requirements of the McLeod County Large Assembly Ordinance regardless of attendance. Number 17, section 17, is conditional use section in the McLeod County zoning ordinance. Subdivision 3, we would be requesting to add number 38, temporary cannabis events. A, temporary cannabis events shall be allowed Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And B, temporary cannabis events shall not allow use of cannabis or hemp products at the event unless the premise or establishment is permitted licensed for on-site consumption. So those are the proposed changes. These changes are transparent. They come directly out of the rule. We would amend our ordinance to include reference of 9810, Minnesota Rule 9810. And there may be things down the road in regards to the business operation that we might have to be back in front of us for the performance, but this just gives us a start. We have talked about this quite a bit through McPisa, which is the McLeod County, or the Minnesota Association of Planning and Zoning Administrators. Counties are kind of all over the board in regards to how they're handling this. We're kind of on the front end. We felt that it was probably the most transparent way to put this into our zoning ordinance, so when people are looking for the business side, they'll see in there exactly where they can and can't establish their operation and what their process is.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
Now, if we do any changes, I mean, we gotta start somewhere. And I mean, I can see mainly in the hemp thing where, we could have to change some things here and there, but does the board just change it, or do we have to have another hearing to change anything?
It would require a public hearing if we're going to amend anything that we have in ordinance.
Okay.
And the process is we notify the city clerks, township clerks. It goes through the planning commission, hold the public hearing. You have the right as a board to continue that public hearing if you so choose. But statutorily, it only requires one hearing.
Can I ask a question, Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Why would, in section 16.2, I just want to understand, why would the hours of sale restrictions be different than alcohol or liquor retail?
So a lot of times it has to do with the safety and the monitoring of that. So by rule, they felt that it's good to start with the hours and be consistent with the hours that the state puts out there proposed through a model ordinance. That's the best definition or example I can give to you. I don't know why they would be different than the alcohol piece. I would say it's just because that was proposed by the Office of Cannabis and it's something that's new. And they may end up, they may not, amend what the rule currently states. But those timeframes came directly out of the rule.
Mr. Chair, so the rule is the requirement from the state? It can't, I'm just wondering because I know that one of the large concerns was imposing regulations that were more difficult to manage for the city police or the sheriff's office. So is that what the state requires for those sale hours, or can it be the same as liquor?
So we cannot be less restrictive than Minnesota rule.
So that is the requirement?
So that is the minimum requirement.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Schmalz, you have a question?
It was answered.
Okay.
The administrator kind of covered both things that I was thinking about. And yes, my question was in reference of if Minnesota changes rules or state statute, do we have to change with them? And I think you mentioned that we cannot be less restrictive. So am I saying it right?
You are, and that's very correct. So that's one of the reasons why typically we will, if we can, amend by reference. So if the state amends, then we automatically get those accepted changes at the state level.
Very good.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, Doug.
There's no number restrictions in here at all, or the state has any. I mean, the free market takes care of who wants to start these, and because I'm a little confused with retail and processing here, but I think if you read it again or whatever, it'll come to me, but because I've been watching that hemp plant go up in Kimball, and again, I don't see how that comes in line, but we gotta start somewhere, and that'll probably never involve us, but there is no number. We can have 10 in McLeod County, or, because this is basically covers processing as well, right?
So the retail side, we did not limit through
Right.
the past discussion at workshop. We didn't put a number on there to limit how many of those, the market will dictate how many applications we would receive. As far as processing and manufacturing, that's unlimited.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I'll make a motion
Mr. Chair,
to
if I may,
approve.
just on that
I'm
point.
not gonna take that motion, go ahead.
So
Sorry.
this zoning ordinance does not speak to limits or caps on licenses or what's allowed. But if you'll recall, we initially had a use ordinance, which is still in place. And that cannabis ordinance was amended to address certain limits on cannabis businesses in the county, licenses. And that's when we had that discussion of, the 1 per 12.5, the population. And so there were limits that were incorporated into that amended cannabis ordinance that relates to use and earlier. And so these changes would not supersede or change that. So those limits would still be in effect. And then the rules that would apply to those businesses would be largely addressed in what Mark's touching on today. So I just want to remind everybody that prior ordinance is still in effect and would still speak to some of that.
This is just essentially, which we talked about at the beginning, another step in the process to adopt everything. Is that fair?
Yeah, I mean, it's really the land use
Yep.
portion of this, and that's why it's falling under the umbrella of zoning rather than, where we had started with cannabis.
Sure.
Mr. Chair, if I may just add one.
Sure.
So I appreciate that point being brought up by Attorney Hansch. The use side was important for us to get out in front of because the law went into effect January 1. But they hadn't completed the rule yet in regards to the land use. They just finished up that hearing requirement or that public notice requirement. It had to be open for a period of 60 days to the rules. So that just got finalized end of April, early May, which is why we're delayed a little bit in regards to the zoning changes and the land use side of this. So it was tough and that's where some of the counties are struggling in regards to, do they do one comprehensive ordinance or do they layer it? And this was the approach that our county took, and I appreciate the approach we took, just for transparency, so when a business comes in, if they're looking to establish, they know exactly what the requirements are through the zoning ordinance, and then we will point them to the use side as well.
Commissioner Kruger, you have a motion to offer?
I did one quick question. Are most counties all tying up cannabis and hemp? I mean, are they, I understand the difference to a point, but are they all tying together?
The model ordinance that's being proposed by the state has them together.
Okay.
I can't speak to how other counties are looking at that. I'll find more out. I have another meeting on the 18th with our district, so we'll see how some of the counties at the southwest part of the state are looking at amending their ordinance. My guess would be that they are going to do the same thing and at the start, put them together.
Okay, I
And
got a
if I may,
feeling
I
the
mean,
ordinances, this is one of them ordinances gonna keep giving, and I guess that's okay. With that, I'll make a motion to approve.
I'm gonna take it this time. Ryan, I hear you, but motion by Commissioner Kruger, is there a second? I can second it. Any discussion, Ryan? Do you have anything else, Dan? Okay. Commissioner Schmalz?
I'll ask a question in discussion so that, the viewing public kind of knows that this has been reviewed. And I'll direct it to the county attorney. County attorney, my assumption is that you've reviewed the language presented today and you're pretty comfortable with what we're proposing to adopt today?
Yes, my office has had an opportunity to review it and speak with Mark about it at some length. And, yeah, without going into great details about those discussions, the goal was to have to approach these land use issues in a way that's as consistent as possible with what we're already doing in the county. Now, this is a new area, it's unique, so I mean, it takes some special considerations. But no, that was part of the conversation, so we've had an opportunity to review it. Some of the things that were touched on today were kind of came about from discussions that Mark and I had as far as some of the updates, so, yeah, I have nothing to add, and, I don't have any additional concerns to put forth at this time.
Very good, and thanks for that summarization. And I too, with the comments stated early on in the discussion, I mean, we may not have it perfect, it may not be correct, but it's something where we're starting with. And as we need to make changes, we can do that as we see a need arise. Thanks.
Mr. Chair, if I may add
Sure.
one thing. And just for clarification, this is unincorporated area only, outside of municipal boundaries. So this only is in effect in the unincorporated areas. We do not have any joint powers agreements with any of our statutory cities within McLeod County to enforce zoning. So this is only in the unincorporated area of McLeod County.
Thank you for adding that.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Mark, and I thanks for going through all this stuff. I mean, I'm kind of the fickler that asks you to follow through, and I see Tim's leaving now too, and the guys coming in. It just makes for a transparent permit use, and it just really helps my life a lot. Thanks.
Good morning, Andrew.
Good morning. Item A, consider approving the final acceptance and payment of $23,231.60 to Morris Seal Coat and Trucking, Inc. of Morris, Minnesota for County Project 25-000-001 and County Project 25-000-002, the pavement marking and seal coat projects. The projects are completed satisfactory, and final acceptance and payment is recommended by staff.
Mr. Chair, I'll move both requests.
Motion by Commissioner Schmalz. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Commissioner Wright. Any discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item B, consider approving the final acceptance and payment of $3,968.72 to R&K Industries doing business as Diversified Paving for project FG 1170-25-006, the Fairgrounds Bituminous Overlay Project. This project is completed satisfactory, and final acceptance and payment is recommended by staff.
Move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Wright. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Chachka. Any discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item C, consider approving final acceptance and payment of $12,732.88 to Reiner Contracting, Inc. of Hutchinson, Minnesota for County Project 24-000-005, the gravel crushing and stockpiling project. This project, once again, is completed, satisfactory, and final payment and acceptance is recommended by staff.
Wishes of the board.
Move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Wright. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Commissioner Kruger. Any discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item D, consider approving the memorandum of understanding with the City of Winsted for the County State Aid Highway Trail Project. This winter, Winsted applied for and received an active transportation infrastructure grant to construct a .32 mile multi-use trail along Casala 1 from Baker Avenue to McLeod Avenue. Winsted is not a state aid city, thus McLeod County adopted a resolution on January 21st, 2025 to sponsor the project at the grant application phase. This agreement outlines the roles and the responsibilities for each party. The city will own and maintain the trail and be responsible for all design, construction, and maintenance costs. The county will only be the fiscal agent on behalf of the city, assisting with the state aid process to receive and distribute the grant funds.
Good explanation. Wishes of the board.
Mr. Chair, I'll move request.
Motion by Commissioner Schmalz. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Kruger. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
just to comment that we've discussed this on the workshops, and I think it's laid out pretty well, and I guess it's long overdue to get that completed up there as well, so thanks.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item E, consider a recommendation from the Recorder's Compliance Fund Committee to approve a 3-year contract with E.G. Rude & Sons of Hutchinson, Minnesota for section corner remonumentation work at a cost not to exceed $19,990 per year, which is $59,970 total with funds from the Recorder Compliance Fund. Minnesota Statute 160.15 defines the obligation of perpetuation of section corners due to road construction, and Minnesota Statute 381.12 defines the process of remonumentation by a licensed land surveyor. This winter, when doing an audit of the section corner inventory on county highways, staff found that 52 section corners were in need of updated certificates of location. 84 section corners needed monuments raised to the surface of the roadway, and 18 section corners needed monuments replaced. McLeod County has appointed E.G. Rude & Sons as its surveyor. The Recorder's Compliance Fund Committee unanimously recommended this request at its June 17th, 2025 meeting.
Very good. I'll move to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Commissioner Schmalz. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Yes, as stated by Andrew's presentation, this became before the Recorder Compliance Fund Committee, which I am part of, and the need was spelled out. It's a big project. You can see that it spans over 3 years, and I think it'll be, a great asset to the county and to the surveyors who do work in McLeod County. Thanks.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
question is, it's covered here, but is that pretty much cover the county? Are you satisfied in, that when we do this, is there some more coming, or, they are very important, but.
Yeah, I will, Commissioner Kruger, every road project or paving project we do, we will have to re-perpetuate those corners to the surface to eliminate having to dig in the road to get to them. And so we are in the process of putting that in with our construction process. These just cover the corners in the county roads. The rest of our section corner system has been remonumented within the last 25 years. And so we're still doing audits and checking all of that for the rest of the county.
Thank you. So we have a little bit to go, to be, I
Yeah.
don't want to say compliant, but to be where we
Yeah.
really want to be.
Yeah, we're in much better shape than most counties within the state.
Good.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Morning.
Item F, consider approving the estimates from Flatworks Concrete Construction LLC of Glencoe, Minnesota for installation of concrete disc golf tee pads and basket foundations at a total cost of $35,875 with coronavirus relief funds from the American Rescue Plan Act. As outlined in the Parks Plan, a disc golf course was identified as a priority at Lake Marion Park. To date, the course has been designed and cleared, benches have been purchased, and baskets have been ordered. Originally, 18 tee pads were going to be installed. However, to make the course more accessible and approachable, 14 of the holes will feature a second tee pad. These tee pads shorten the distance to the basket, which will result in a less challenging hole for novice players. The goal is to create a course that is used by all skill levels. A second estimate was received from Shower & Sons Construction Incorporated of Glencoe, Minnesota, at a cost of $41,275.
Wishes of the board?
Move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Wright. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Chaska. Any discussion?
Just to add that this continues to go through the checklist that we made and how to invest the ARPA funds into our parks and fairgrounds budgets.
If we had a commissioner tournament, I would lose, so. I don't know. Not my thing, but it is very popular. Any further discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item G, consider approving a payment of $2,450 to TLB Construction LLC of Hutchinson, Minnesota for park shelter repairs at William A. Park with coronavirus relief funds from the American Rescue Plan Act. On December 17th, 2024, the board approved $70,450 for various park shelter roof replacements, repairs, and ceiling installations. The original estimated total provided by TLB Construction did not properly add in the $4,450 as outlined in the line item for William May and Buffalo Creek Parks, which stated price per each shelter. The updated total of $74,900 is still below the $83,507 estimate that was received from Shower and Sons Construction Incorporated of Glencoe, Minnesota. Travis Brecht, owner of TLB Construction, has donated the wall repair work completed at Buffalo Creek Park valued at $2,000 as outlined in the updated invoice.
Speaking of the invoice, so this was something that was found after the construction started?
Yes, correct.
Thank you. Any questions from the board?
I'll move request.
Motion by Commissioner Schmalz, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Commissioner Kruger. Any discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Yep, and that's exactly what I was going to reference. It looks like we are crossing our Ts and dotting our Is and reviewing the documents as submitted, and I'm glad that, you know, if there was a mistake, it was caught, and now we're fixing it, and we're still good. Thank you.
Thanks.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item H, consider approving the estimate from Brothers Fire and Security of Elk River, Minnesota to replace the pipe and sprinklers in the west portion of the McLeod County Fairgrounds 4-H building at a cost of $21,550 with funds from Fairgrounds capital budget. On May 9th, 2025, a leak was discovered in the sprinkler line in the west portion of the 4-H building. As the system is over 30 years old, it is suggested to replace the entire 2-inch line and sprinkler heads in that portion of the building. A typical lifespan for older systems such as this one is 20 to 25 years. A second estimate was received from Summit Fire Protection of St. Paul, Minnesota at a cost of $25,895.
John, I'm fine with this, but, I mean, are we able to somehow project, I mean, they're all 30 years old. I mean, all the buildings are, I mean, not all, but, you know, the original footprint. Is this something we can start preparing for a little more? Because I can't imagine this is going to be the last one that we see with this. Have you looked into that at all?
Yep, we're talking internally about now we're doing kind of a roof replacement schedule. Now
Yep.
we'll likely include this in our capital improvement plan as far as going through the buildings and.
I think that's
doing
important
the
to be
sprinklers.
planning for this, because I can't imagine this is going to be the end of it. So, and maybe it's not the first one, I just don't recall any other ones. Maybe the horticulture building, once with a dry system, but, so I'll move to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Commissioner Kruger. Any discussion?
I do have a question, Mr. Chair. I mean, is there did something change in the 4A? I mean, the layout of how the sprinklers work? I mean, obviously, other than nozzles and stuff, most pipes stay the same. I don't know unless there's internal rusting or whatever, but I mean, if there's a different configuration of the buildings or a kitchen is added or different things, does that play out in replacing these sprinklers?
So it sounds like these older style systems didn't have a way to drain these lines, and essentially, yeah, they just rusted out from the inside. The newer systems last longer because there's way to drain those lines by the sprinkler head, so.
Good to know, thanks.
Commissioner Schmalz?
You know, Mr. Chair, and maybe I could be wrong, but why this gets a little sticky in repairing these fire suppression systems is it's my belief that those systems run under a higher water pressure than what your, let's say your faucet or your other water system runs. So I mean, there's a few pieces that go along with, you know, repairing a system like this. And age may certainly play a factor.
Correct.
Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair, so they're active lines, they're not airless, I mean, not waterless, and
Yep, they are currently active, yep.
That building,
Yep.
that part of the building. Yeah. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right. On to county administration. We'll start with reviewing our calendars.
thank you, Mr. Chair. Since our last meeting, well, we had the workshop last meeting before the meeting, so I won't comment on that. We had the Board of Equalization that same night, and after that meeting, I went to the Extension Committee meeting, which is new for me this year, and went through some budgets, some spending items there, and I'm kind of happy to say I found we had a resignation for my district too, to get a new representative, and we've got one, and we're excited to, it's Shannon Mattson, and she seems to have accepted, and we're excited to get her going. On the 18th, I had a drainage work group Zoom meeting, obviously getting set up for this year. Again, unfortunately, it's not much different than last year, but we'll go from there. Mid-Minnesota Development that evening, they voted, went through some other business, plus they increased their levy by 3%. And on the 25th, at an HRA meeting, discussing some of our hail damage repairs and making sure they were done properly, and agenda review on the 26th, ATP District 8 transportation on the 27th, and then fielding a number of calls on some water and drainage issues. Brings us to today. Thank you.
Okay, after we completed, last time we met, after Board of Equalization, joined Commissioner Kruger at our extension meeting, able to race across the county to make it to that one. Full of the updates from our extension educators on the 4-H side, all of the enrollments as far as the animals for the livestock shows. It sounds like all the barns are definitely going to be bursting at the seams, especially when we look at the smaller animals, the poultry, the rabbits, sheep, swine, and goats is a very active project area. Extension educators doing a fantastic job of putting together a lot of programming that they're keeping busy with. And that pretty well is the main meetings for me.
All right. As previously mentioned, after our board meeting, met with the Board of Equalization. It was a meeting that went well, and I know everybody was there to listen to the facts and base their decisions off of facts, which was good. Fair amount of conversations over the last couple of weeks with SWCD and some lake levels in the district that I represent, Huff Lake, Cedar Lake, Greenleaf, things like that, that have been some questions that actually for the entire tenure of my time as a commissioner have been brought up here or there. Worked through that along with some court findings that have set those levels, so not everybody's happy, but everybody seems to be understanding. Some township business regarding a neighboring county and a detour that's affecting a township road. I'm really appreciative that everybody is being calm, cool, and collective regarding that, and the best way I can describe it is they're being very good neighbors to each other, and it's impressive to watch. And then another meeting that I attended, the admin team meeting. It's a meeting that I don't often make it to, but I do appreciate when I get there. A lot of good conversation, high-level conversation, and really the planning of the county, the day-to-day business of it. It's good for us to attend when we can those, and if nothing else, and probably most appropriately, just to listen and make sure we're hearing what's going on with that. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner. And as was mentioned, Board of Equalization on the 17th of June evening. And then last week, I had a CHS Education and Training meeting that took place here at the Government Center. The meeting was led by the CHS Administrator, Kaisa Olson. And then on Thursday, the 26th, we had a Union Negotiations Committee meeting here at the Government Center. It was what we call our opener meetings with two different unions. And then after I was done with the Union Committee meetings, I drove to Redwood Falls for a UCAP Joint Powers Board meeting. And I'll just highlight a few of the notes I took from the meeting. and the concerns that they have. They're highly concerned about what's happening in federal legislation right now. They feel there will be cost shifts or eliminations of some programs. The cost shift would be to the state, and elimination affects the UCAP directly. One of the things that is listed for elimination was the weatherization plan that they've been doing over the last few years. The message there should be, we think weatherization is kind of important in Minnesota, where we do get 30 below degree weather. And maybe it's a less important factor, you know, if you're in the southern part of the United States, but it's certainly a factor here where we live. So high concern about elimination of that program. Also a high concern about what can happen to the SNAP program related to how UCAP serves those eligible for SNAP. There was mention of a community services block grant is very much needed. And I don't know the details of how that works without further research. And also a concern for them is what the paid family medical leave is going to cost UCAP directly. They do employ a little over 300 people, the way it is what I was told, and it will increase their budget trying to comply with what paid family medical leave requires. And then lastly, I'll say we've got a construction project going on in my district, County Road 1, starting southwest of Lester Prairie and running through Lester Prairie and into Winsted and hitting the very northern edges of Winsted. I have fielded some phone calls and some concerns, mostly around extra traffic on our aggregate roads and extra dust. So, Mr. Chair, that's my report. Thank you.
All right, my last couple weeks have been a little bit slower. I had a conference last week that took me away for 3 days. So after the appeal and equalization meeting on the 23rd, last Monday, I also attended the new board training for CHS here in Glencoe. Kaisa does a good job of explaining things, and it really helps to get in depth on some of that to start the learning process. So that's all I had.
All right. Anything from the attorney's office?
No, like,
All right, administration?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item A, notification of an electronic transfer of funds in the amounts of $3,500,000 from the Minnesota Association of Governments Investing for Counties account to the Core Trust Bank checking account was made on June 17, 2025 for the June tax settlement payments. Item B, notification of board workshop following the board meeting on Tuesday, July 15, 2025 at the McLeod County Government Center, 520 Chandler Avenue North, Glencoe, Minnesota. Item C is the added item that I asked for at the beginning of the meeting. Excuse me. Consider approval of out-of-state travel for the county administrator to attend the National Association of Counties Workforce Network Advisory Council annual pre-conference meeting in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania on July 10th. The Workforce Network Advisory Council Managing Director indicated that NACO will cover the travel and lodging expenses for the county administrator to attend, despite that I would not be attending the annual conference. And I have been on that council since 2021. I thought it was 2020. Thank you.
Any questions from the board regarding the request? If not, I'll move to approve. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Chashka. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I just have to go on record as saying that I'm not a real big proponent of NACO, but talking with our administrator, she's assured me that there's some value in her attending this. Again, I'm pretty proud of McLeod County, and I think our board and leaders have put their heads together and got work done, sometimes better than big city businesses, whatever. But I will accept her word that there's value in her attending.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. To the point of the agenda, open forum. Anyone wish to address the board? Press relations, anything? Very good. Looking for a motion to recess to our next county board meeting, 9 a.m. Tuesday, July 15th at the McLeod County Government Center, 520 Chandler Avenue, North Glencoe, Minnesota.
Move recess.
Motion by Commissioner Schmalz. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Wright. Any discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Enjoy the 4th of July, everyone.